joined here today by the one and only Jinh Yu Frey, set to defend her belt against Ashley Cummins in a rematch at Invicta FC 39. Thanks so much for joining me. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Of course, we're glad you could join us. First things first, before we get into the fights and everything, we had the holiday season went by, New Year's, all that stuff. Did you celebrate anything at all, and were you able to celebrate anything, of course, with this kind of training camp?
Um, yes and no. For Thanksgiving, I ended up spending it with my mom, and she's in failing health, so she has like a lot of dietary restrictions. So, I spent Thanksgiving with her, but it wasn't like we could just eat whatever.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a very clean, salt-free
Yeah.
Thanksgiving. And then Christmas, I wasn't really sure what the date was going to be on this fight, so I just played it safe and went pretty clean for Christmas as well. So I finally had a year for the first time in like 3 years to um, kind of imbibe and take part in the holidays, but didn't really get to go all out like I wanted to.
So what's that experience like when you're watching, I guess, your family members? I assume they're not holding back just because you can't enjoy it, right?
No, not really. It kind of sucks. You don't really. It doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal until all of a sudden you're just like watching everybody. Like
Yeah.
normally, I just leave the house while everybody's eating, um, and we typically go visit family out of town, and so it's not even like I'm in my own house. Like I could just go to my
Oh, yeah.
room, like I'm just sitting there watching everybody else. So I usually just leave for a couple hours and go run or go hike or something.
For sure. Let's talk about, first of all, the date for this fight. It seemed like this fight kind of, I don't want to say sprung up out of nowhere, but it seems like there was uncertainty around it, and then it kind of just popped up, and the date was February. I believe it got announced, I think, this month. How did this fight sort of come together, from your end and from your understanding?
Well, first I got injured, and then I'd asked Shannon if there was a possibility of just rolling it into the November card, but she had said that there was already like two title fights on that card, and they just really couldn't fit a third title fight. And then she wasn't sure at the time, but she was pretty sure that that was going to be the last card of the year. And then kind of a little bit before Christmas, I heard maybe possibly mid-January. Um, and then I didn't hear anything for a couple of weeks, and then it was like February 7th. So, um, I wasn't entirely sure when it was going to happen, so I was like, I'm just going to kind of stay in shape just in case.
And so what do you do with that time? You touched on a little bit with the staying in shape. I assume you use that sort of for recovery and stuff, but what do you do with that time? Because I guess you are aware of who you're going to be fighting next.
It's just staying in shape. I still go to the gym every day. Maybe the intensity is not the same. Maybe I'm not doing 2 a days or 3 a days every day, but I'm still in the gym every day. So making sure that I'm managing my weight and, staying ready to be able to do 25 minutes on short notice if I have to.
And so I believe last time we saw you was in June. I mean, what's going on with this time? Is it just about, focusing on that recovery so you can get back as soon as possible? I mean, touched on it a little bit, but what do those kind of past couple months look like with you out of the cage?
I've just been training. I'm a professional. That's what my livelihood is based on. It's what I spend all my time doing. You spend 40 hours a week at your job. I spend, quite a bit of time every day at my job working on my trade, and I can only fight for a short period of time. So that's what I've given up a lot in my life. I've given up my career. I've sold my home, that sort of thing, so that I could pursue this dream. And so that's what I focus all of my attention on right now.
And so let's talk about this fight a little bit. Obviously, it's a rematch here against Ashley. I mean, does the fact that it's a rematch, what does that change going into it compared to the first one, if it changes anything at all?
um I don't know if it changes anything at all. I look at every fight um as like a fresh new fight. It's not like, oh, I beat her here and she wasn't good at doing this and I was able to do this. Like that doesn't even enter my mind. We take a look at our last couple of fights or whatever, glean what we can from her tendencies there, and just be prepared. And it's never in the back of my mind like, oh, I already beat her before, so it's fine. It's going to be an easy fight. It's the board is clean. I wipe it clean and we start fresh.
And so when you do, I assume you and yourself and your coaches, of course, are looking at the tape and stuff. Is the first fight something you guys watch a lot, or is it just like a normal part of the cycle of the fights you would already be watching and studying?
I don't know. I mean, that was like three. I actually have only seen the fight like one time.
Yeah.
I don't really like rewatching my fights. I don't really like watching film. I leave that up to my coaches. I don't want to get things stuck in my head like, oh, I expect her to do this, and then, if it doesn't happen that way, then I don't want to just be stuck in that mindset. Like, this is what I'm prepared for. This is what she's going to do. Because people change. She's changed camp since then, and anything could be different.
And we know that with Invicta, I mean, you kind of have this freedom to fight in other organizations. I mean, we've seen you out there fighting a lot of fights in Asia. Do you enjoy having that kind of freedom, knowing that you're champion in one organization, but you can also fight elsewhere and you're not kind of tied down in one place?
It's nice not being tied down, but definitely, I mean, this last one was, one that was a little bit personal for me because I never got the rematch that, I was told I was going to get. I had unfinished business with Ayaka. This time her belt was on the line. So it wasn't just about being freedom. This was a personal thing for me that I wanted to chase after.
And let's talk about the last fight a little bit in Ryzen. I mean, first things first, before we get to the actual fight, fighting in Ryzen is a different experience. I mean, the rules are different, the crowd is different, everything. What did you sort of make of that whole kind of experience?
It was a cool experience. They definitely put a lot of emphasis in their production. It's just a huge show, and it's exciting to be a part of that. But then also it kind of sucked because we had to be there at like, I don't know, noon that day, and
Yeah.
I didn't fight till like 10 or 11 o'clock at night, so I'm just like sitting in the back watching people warm up and just like laying back there around a bunch of strangers like all day. And then the rule set's definitely different. It's kind of hard. Like my whole career I've been fighting a 10-point must system where the rounds are judged and you get points based on the round, whereas there it's like an infinite scoring where they judge the entire fight as a whole. And so, and I mean, it's kind of weird. It's like if you get held down for like 24 and a half minutes, and then the last 30 seconds you get up and you clip them and you knock them down, you've basically won the fight, regardless of the fact that you may have been you only had control of the fight for like 10 seconds. And it's just the way they score things. They like damage and aggression, and it's kind of strange to think that 10 seconds can win you the fight out of the entire 25, or I mean 15, whatever. But it's a different rule set, and it's going to take some getting used to for sure.
And so do you like that rule set, or I mean, are there a few parts in it that you like more, or do you just prefer kind of the standard one you've been working with most of your career?
It definitely has its upsides. They definitely award damage and aggression much higher than anything else. But like I said, for you to get like controlled and for you to get controlled and the other person to be winning the fight for 14 minutes, and then but maybe significant damage being done, but they manage to catch you and just drop you in like the last little bit, and then they win the fight. Like that's kind of a crummy thing. I don't know. I'm not sure that that's fair, but it is what it is. That's how they see it.
And so last thing about fighting in Japan, I know before Japan you had fought in, the last time you fought in Asia was in Korea, and you told me that you felt like the commentators were biased, stuff like that. I mean, this was a very long time ago. Did you feel like these commentators at Ryzen did a much better job?
I couldn't hear them, so that
Oh, yeah.
like during the Korea fight, I could actually hear them speaking as I'm in the cage, because I guess I don't know what it was, but I guess we were just right next to them, and I can hear what they're saying as in the cage, and I'm having an internal dialogue. I'm listening to them. I'm trying to focus on the fight. At least in Ryzen, I couldn't hear anything that was being said. So, I actually haven't gone back and watched the fight, so I don't even know what was said. So it's probably better that way.
That's fair. Last time we saw you in Invicta, you fought Mina Grusander twice, and one of the biggest storylines wasn't even the fight. I believe it was referred to as Smellgate or something like that. What was kind of the story behind there? I mean, were there issues in both fights? Was it one fight in particular? What's the story behind that?
Just the first time, um, she smelled just terrible, and like I know that that's kind of like an old school wrestling thing. Like I'm gonna make this, use this psychological warfare and make things really uncomfortable for my opponent, and just not shower, and I'll be really stinky, and they have to put their face all in my armpit and in my chest, and we're grappling, and it sucks for them, and it's just gross, and just like every time I passed her, like she just had this like body odor about her. And then, like I can't help but think that it wasn't kind of on purpose because she had a very grappling heavy plan to where she just wanted to hold me up against a cage and just like grapple against the cage. So I can't help but think that surely she knew that that was going to be the case. And then even after the event, we had to like, I don't know how it ended up, but we had to ride in the same shuttle back to the hotel.
Oof.
And like her and her team gets in, and it's just like a 10-person like van. And I mean, like it's getting to the point where we're like having to roll down the windows because this entire van is like, it's like bad. It's not just like a little bit of like, hey, I forgot to put on deodorant today. Like it was bad. And then, the second time around, I don't know, it wasn't as bad, but still kind of had like, maybe I didn't put on deodorant today. BO. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe people don't sweat over in Finland. I don't know. But Kansas City gets humid and hot, and we sweat our asses off in the Midwest and South Texas. So, yeah.
So is it fair to say it brought her an advantage? Because I assume you're in the zone and then you smell that, and then for like a hot second you're like, oh, what? And that kind of takes you out of it, or do you still manage to stay in the zone the whole time?
Uh, I mean, it was just more like kind of offensive. Like, really, do you feel like you need this to give yourself an advantage? Everybody has a smell action in the gym, so it's not like it's the first time I've come across something like that. But it's just like, really, do you really feel like you need that? Like obviously, you need to focus on, I don't know, sharpening your skills if you feel like you have to stoop to that level to gain an advantage or an edge. But whatever, it's over and done with, and
For sure. This fight against Ashley Cummins, I mean, you're back in the States. You're going to be fighting, normal rule set. Hopefully she has deodorant for this fight. I mean, does that take a sort of mental thing off, especially knowing that, with the time difference and everything? Does it feel good just to fight in the States and knowing that there's going to be less, I guess you can call it like distractions just from the rules and all that stuff?
yeah, for sure. Like, it's always exciting getting to travel somewhere new and getting to experience something like that. But it also brings a lot of stress and anxiety. Like, the weight classes are different, the rule sets are different. I don't understand anything that's being said. I'm just trying to look around and figure things out from like context clues and
Yeah.
whatever. So yeah, it's nice being kind of back in my comfort zone.
For sure. What kind of fight are you expecting out there? I mean, we touched that. It's probably going to be different from the first fight, but are you expecting a similar fight to that? I mean, what kind of fight are you expecting out there?
Um, I don't know. She's changed camps since then. So she comes from a really good camp out in San Diego now. So I don't know. I feel like I need to be prepared for everything. I don't know if she's going to feel like maybe this time, since we had a grappling heavy fight last time, she wants to box. I don't know if she feels like her grappling has improved that much that she feels much more comfortable grappling. I don't know. We'll see.
All right, so I have just one more for you. How do you see yourself getting the job done in this fight?
Um, I don't know. I want to finish. It's been a long time since I had to finish. It's not always the easiest thing when you're fighting people who are at the top of the food chain with you. People are savvy. People, are good. That's why they're at the top. But it's been a little too long. I definitely think fighting 25 minutes is for the birds. I don't want to do that anymore. So, whatever means necessary to get my hand raised earlier than after 5 rounds.
All right, well, we look forward to it. It's going to be a great fight. Thanks so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. See you later.